ho. Hey there. Hello, how do you do? My name is Harry Wetzel. Thanks for coming. It's the 80s, darling. Yes, it is. It is the middle of December, 1983. Yes. Now, just a couple nights ago, Wednesday, we heard Michael on the crummy beige plastic telephone slam it down on the crummy beige plastic cradle when he was angry on the phone with his wife, Margie. To which Peter said, "Fuck, Michael, don't break the phone." All right, that was a couple nights ago, Wednesday. Now it's a couple nights later, it's Friday night. It's 10 o'clock. A few minutes after 10 o'clock, it's closing time. We're closing down the shop. We're getting ready to get out. We've shut down the lights, shut off the radio. We're all moving towards the front door when suddenly the crummy beige plastic phone rings. I say, "Nobody move." Gregory starts moving towards the phone. I say, "No, don't." He says, "Don't worry." He picks up the phone. He says, "Vino Veritas, we're closed." What? Oh, sure, just a minute. "Michael." And he covers the mouthpiece. He says, "It's the warden." Michael huffs once and he walks around behind the counter and he picks up the phone. He says, "I told you not to call here. Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye." And he slams the phone down in the cradle. Gregory says, "So you just rather that we don't have a phone here at all?" Michael huffs once and he walks out of the store. We all go outside. Gregory locks up the front door and he goes over to this little keypad and he turns the key, which starts down the electric gate. Jugga, 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 jugga. It's rolled up. You've seen these before. Jugga, 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 jugga. Chakunk. And now it has come all the way down and the store is locked up nice and safe. So we walk up 3rd Avenue and we hang a left at 86th Street and we go to the middle of the block where is waiting for us the bus stop. And the bus stop is right in front of the Blarney Stone Bar, right in front of it. I mean, the bus stop is directly in front of the doors. And Gregory says, "Well, while we're waiting for the bus, why don't we go on in and have a drink?" I say, "I'm in." Michael laughs and we just go on in there. The bartender is a super friendly, super gregarious guy. He comes up and he's, "How you doing, gentlemen? What can I do for you tonight? What do you need?" And Gregory says, "I'll have a Johnny Red on the rocks." Michael says, I'll have a Bacardi and Coke." And I say, "I'll have a shot of Old Bushmills and a bottle of Rolling Rock." He says, "Gotcha." And he turns around. The bartender is zip, zam, zowie, and swoosh, and he puts down our drinks. Boom, 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 boom. He says, "My name is Terry if you need anything." And I said, "Terry, if you need anything, that's a very interesting last name." And he and Michael both laughed a little at that. Anyhow, we're drinking our drinks, Gregory and Michael and I, and you can see the bus stop right in front of the doors. And you can see the bus when it pulls up. And it pauses, and then it pulls away. And he said, "Oh, we missed our bus." Gregory says, "Well, might as well have another round." So we did. And we're waiting for the next bus. And we're drinking, we're hanging around for another little while. And then we see the bus come up, and it pauses, and it moves away. We're still in the middle of our round. We're not going to just bolt. What we're trying to do is line up the timeline so that we finish a round just as the bus pulls up so we can dash for it. So far, that hasn't happened. We have another couple more rounds. We miss another bus. And now we're getting pretty loopy. I got nothing in my stomach but liquor. So I go over to the steam table. I say, "I got to get some food in my stomach." And they have plenty of starchy offerings and they have plenty of meaty offerings. And I look at the starch and I look at that big bin of yellow rice. And so I'll have a plate of yellow rice, please. And they give me a big plate of yellow rice with a pat of butter on top. I take it over to a table, a little pepper, a little salt. It's fantastic. I eat the whole thing in very short order, enjoying it all the way. And suddenly I am rejuvenated. I've got some bulk in my stomach and I'm ready to drink more liquor. Hooray! So I go over to Michael and Gregory and we have another round and we're standing around joking and laughing and stuff. And we have another round and now we're pretty drunk and it's like, I'm not going to wait for the bus anymore. I'm just taking a cab home. And we all decide that's the idea. So we walk out, we hang around, we wait. Here comes the cab and I get in it and that's what I do. I go home. Now, here's the thing. We didn't realize it that night, but what we did was start a new tradition of going to the bus stop bar, as we called it. Bus stop, Blarney Stone, same initials. 3 or 4 nights a week. We're going there almost every night, having drinks, laughing and joking, hanging around. It's fantastic. Now, Michael and Gregory and I started out as co-workers, and we hit it off pretty famously right from the start. However, becoming drinking buddies is a new plateau. It's a whole new level of friendship. It is. And so we're forging a new friendship. I can tell from this first night that was one of the things that was also happening. Yes. So I thought that was pretty nice. Anyhow, now it's a week later. Yes. It is the 24th of December, 1983. Yes, it's Xmas Eve itself. And it's just after closing time. It's a few minutes after 10. And we're shutting down the store when what should happen, but who comes up to the door but a beautiful girl and a big doofus. And I go up to the door. I say, sorry, folks, we're closed. Sorry. And we're closed. It's the way we. And Steve takes a look out the window and he sees there's a beautiful girl out there. And he says, wait a minute. That's a beautiful girl. I'm letting them in. I say, do we have to let the doofus in too? Michael laughs at that. Steve unlocks the door and they both come in. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you so much. We'll be as quick as we can. And Steve says, please be as quick as you can. He locks the door again. He doesn't want anybody other sneaking in. Says, please be as quick as you can. We don't want to be here all night. So the doofus and the pretty girl run into the stacks and they're combing their way through the bottles trying to pick out what they want. Right. Well, eventually the doofus comes back and he's got a pretty nice bottle of white and a pretty nice bottle of red. He says, yeah, I would also like to get a bottle of gin. Could I get a liter of Beefeater? And so Gregory gets that and he starts bagging everything up. And then the girl comes up and she's got 2 bottles of white and 2 bottles of red. And she says, yes, I'd like to get a bottle of vodka. Could I get a liter of Smirnoff Red, please? And Steve comes over. He says, you two are probably going to seem like you're having a real party. And the doofus says, no, we're not together. And the girl said, no, we're not. We just showed up at the exact same time. It was just a coincidence. Steve laughs. He says, ha! He turns to the doofus. He says, you can thank your lucky stars for that coincidence of timing, because if you hadn't shown up at the exact same time as a pretty girl, you would have never got in here. I'll tell you that. And he says, well, what do I owe you? And Gregory says, Gregory says, that'll be $79.97. And the doofus says, I usually come in here and I like to see Stuart. He's an old friend of mine. Where is Stuart around? He used to give me a discount. Gregory looks at him square in the eye and he says, $79.97. He says, sure. And he gets out some money. He pays Gregory. Gregory gives him his 3 cents change. And he says, well, thank you guys for letting us in. I really appreciate it. And happy holidays to everyone. He goes over. Steve unlocks the door and the doofus walks out. He says, Merry Christmas. And he shuts the door. And I say, who cares? I mean, happy holidays to you too. And that makes the girl laugh. So she's got a couple of bottles. And she says, oh, I just remembered I've got to get a chilled bottle of champagne. Do you have that? And Gregory points back to the big cooler in the back. And she runs back, picks out a bottle of champagne, and puts them all on the counter. All right. She says, and Steve says, so you must be having quite a party yourself. And she says, no, it's just me and my girlfriend. We're getting drunk with our boyfriends. And so I came out to get this. Steve says, so they sent you out alone on your own in the cold? He says, I'm just much faster when I move alone. By the way, it was my boyfriend who paid. He says, you fly, I'll buy. So I took him up on that, and I'm here. And your girlfriend didn't even want to come along? She said, I didn't want Heidi to come along. She's a dawdler. She's a dawdler. And if I had brought her along, I would have never gotten to the store in time, and we just wouldn't have gotten our liquor. So anyhow, what do I owe you? Gregory says, that'll be $116 even. So she takes out some 20s, gives them to Gregory, and Gregory counts out $1, $2, $3, $4. $4 you change. She says, now this might sound silly, but would each of you gentlemen please take one of these dollars as sort of a Christmas present for me? I know it's not very much, but I'm just feeling sort of Christmassy, and it's really all I can do. So happy Christmas, and would you each take $1 as sort of a tip from me and a thank you? And I said, that's lovely of you. And Steve says, that's very nice of you. What's your name? She says, Ramona. He says, Ramona, that's very sweet of you. So Gregory says, all right, Michael, here's your $1. Harry, here's your $1. Esteban, here's your $1, and one for me. Ramona, thank you very much. So she picks up her bottles and she says, thank you all. And 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 she goes to the door, and Stephen unlocks the door, and he leans into her and he says, Ramona, you're welcome at Vino Veritas anytime. Please come back again soon. She says, okay, bye. And poof, she's gone. So I say, all right, can we get out of here now? And so we go out. Stephen locks the door, turns the key, brings down the electronic gate. Jugga, 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 chukunk. And I say, well, gentlemen, shall we go up to the bus stop and have a little wassail together, a little holiday cheer? And Gregory says, well, Michael and I were going to go downtown. Steve says, I was going downtown too. Maybe we could all go together in the same cab. And Gregory says, good idea. Well, Harry, we'll see you later. And so I say, gentlemen, it's always a pleasure. And I go up to Steve and I shake his hand. I go up to Michael and I shake his hand. And I go up to Gregory and I shake his hand. All right. And like that, poof, they're gone. So I walk up 3rd Avenue on my own. Now, here's the thing. I've been working with these guys for a few weeks, and we were pretty good co-workers from the beginning. And then now we're getting to be drinking buddies. I'm not drinking buddies with the boss yet or anything like that, but we've always had a friendly and cordial relationship. But here's the thing. Not one of those 3 guys met my eyes when we shook hands. Not one of them. And I just thought that was strange. They're looking around. They're looking at the cement, casting their eyes all over. I even shook hands with Gregory a couple of seconds longer than a usual handshake just to see if what I thought was happening was actually happening. And it was. He wasn't meeting my eyes. Now, I don't think they were consciously avoiding my eyes. They just weren't focused. They just didn't care to look at me. And that made me a little bit sad and lonely. A little bit. And on Xmas Eve, too, I just thought it was a little bit strange. So I turn on 86th Street, and I go up to the bus stop, and I'm in front of the Blarney Stone, and I go, I'm going to go in and have a wassail on my own. And I go in there, and Terry, the bartender, comes up, and he's like, Harry, how are you doing tonight? What can I do for you? And I said, Terry, you're a great fellow. Thanks for remembering my name. He says, you're a very memorable fellow. What can I get for you? I said, Terry, can I buy you a drink? He says, I will take you up on that, Harry. And I said, put her there. And we shook hands. He met my eye. I said, all right, what do you have? He says, I'm going to have whatever you're having. What do you want? I said, I'm going to have a shot of Old Bushmills. He says, good, one for me too. And he turns around, he gets a couple of shot glasses, he gets out the Bushmills, he pours a couple of glasses, and we toast each other, clink, and shoot it down. Boom. Yes. I say, Terry, that was exactly what I was looking for. That was exactly what I needed. Thank you for the human contact and the holiday cheer. I really appreciate it. And I'm going to be on my way now. And Terry says, all right, Harry, thank you for the drink. I paid Terry and I gave him a nice tip. And he says, oh, thank you very much. Now you be careful out there, you hear? And I said, I will. And have a good night. And I'm walking out. I feel fantastic. I'm walking out of the shop and I say, you know what? I'm going to take a taxi home. I'm not going to take the bus. And I step outside. And as soon as I step outside, the bus pulls up. And I say, I'm not that stupid. I'm taking this bus. The universe laid it out in front of me. The universe is New York City. It's a very tricky one. Sometimes it messes with you, but sometimes, and I know it doesn't sound right, but sometimes New York is perfect. Yes. So now it's a week later. It's December 31st, 1983, the very eve of 1984 itself. So, I'll tell you about that next time. All right. Like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget. That's how the logarithm will recognize me and see me more clearly. Yes. So I can hardly wait to see you again and tell you all about 1984.